She gets to Stephanie White. Her entire face changes. And then it changes back. Once she gets past Stephanie White.
Clark, you can see she celebrates with Sophie Cunningham, smiles at Sophie Cunningham, and then immediately when she looks at Raven Johnson and Stephanie White, the smile immediately goes away. Look at her, smiling, sees the bench. Boom! Oh my gosh. My replacement is here.
Pay close attention to that grin. It's clearly there when she looks towards Sophie Cunningham, and it's still there when she acknowledges the bench. But the second Caitlin Clark shifts her attention toward the head coach, something changes instantly. For a brief moment, the expression disappears completely. Then, just as quickly, the smile returns like nothing happened. That tiny sequence is exactly what Fever fans can't stop debating today. And surprisingly, the conversation has very little to do with the basket she had just knocked down.
Clark last night had the big 32-foot logo 3, patented logo 3 game-winning shot. Sophie Cunningham going rogue. Because we have now found out that, in fact, Caitlin Clark was not the first option. Sophie Cunningham made her the first option.
It all kicked off from something that looked almost too simple to matter. Clark steps up and drills a 32-foot logo 3 at the buzzer to steal the game right at the end. No doubt about it, it's an unreal shot and an instant highlight reel moment. But the twist is, the play was never actually drawn up for her in the first place. Sophie Cunningham gets it, reads the defense perfectly, and chooses to break the call instead of forcing it into Clark's hands. The finish itself was pure spectacle, the kind you replay over and over. But the real debate now isn't the shot, it's who was supposed to have the ball, and what that says about how this team is really being built around its star.
Look at the reaction from the team. Look at Sophie. Yeah, you got to give Sophie credit. Sophie said, nah, this pass going to Caitlin. This pass going to Caitlin. What is Sophie? 30 years old, wildly veteran. Wildly old veteran. Howdy.
Look at Cunningham on that possession because it tells you a lot in just a few seconds. She's 30 years old, one of the most seasoned players on this roster, and she's been through enough moments like this to stay calm. And in a split second, she makes a pure veteran read that most players hesitate on. The set was clearly designed to flow through someone else entirely. She sees it developing and immediately waves it off like the original plan doesn't even exist anymore. Right after the shot goes down, you can catch her covering her mouth, almost like she's realizing in real time she just tore up the script in the biggest moment of the night. That's not chaos unfolding on the floor. That's experience, instinct, and trust in the best shot maker on the court, overriding whatever the playbook said otherwise.
Mitchell was the primary option on the play, and Caitlin Clark was secondary. I mean, they weren't going to Caitlin Clark. Sophie went to Caitlin Clark.
Mitchell comes off the screen.
You're going to see. Did you see that? Look at Kelsey coming around. The ball's supposed to go to her. Sophie said, "Fuck that." Way downtown, fruitcake, boom, bang, booyaka, right there.
So who was this ball actually meant for in that moment? By every read of that possession, the first option was Kelsey Mitchell coming off the screen, with Caitlin Clark sliding in as the secondary read behind it. Mitchell curls into her action right on cue. The design clearly leans toward her, but Cunningham ignores the first read completely and swings it straight to Clark instead. Pause on that for a second. The final possession of a one-point game, and the league's biggest name is technically the secondary option in the call sheet. The shot ends up saving everyone involved, but if Cunningham runs it exactly as drawn and that look misses, this entire morning looks very different, and the questions about the game plan get a lot louder than what we're already hearing.
On the radio, that last pass was not exactly What was drawn up? Laugh out loud. Caitlin letting Sophie know her pass was money.
This is where it really becomes clear that teamwork is what made the whole thing work. It wasn't just one player's decision or one moment of brilliance, and even the radio broadcast picked up on it instantly, pointing out in real time that the final pass didn't match what was actually drawn up. You can even see Caitlin Clark turning straight to Cunningham afterward, making it clear with that reaction that the pass was exactly what she needed. The players knew it, the commentary booth knew it, and everyone watching understood that the game winner came from a veteran trusting her read over the original call. So when you go back and watch the celebration, pay close attention to who Clark moves towards first and who she deliberately doesn't.
Running the plays through her. The last play, she was taken for granted. Sophie just said to hell with it. She ain't taken for granted from me.
Every time, and it's number one, a lot of work that she puts in. Number two, like it's been a rough go over the last 18 to 24 months for her, and so she's finding her way. And every opportunity that she gets to hit a shot like that or to get a stop. I mean, she got a big defensive stop for us. To get a pass like she did to Kelsey.
Now listen closely to how the head coach framed it afterward. Stephanie White went out of her way to praise Clark, calling her a generational talent, saying the team needed that exact moment, and even acknowledging that the past year and a half had been a grind for her. On paper, that's exactly what you expect a coach in that position to say. But when you stack those words against that sideline flash, the smile that fades the second Clark turns her way, it hits differently. A lot of fans are now pointing out a strange disconnect between what's being said publicly and what the body language seemed to show in real time. And that perceived gap is quickly becoming the fault line dividing this fan base right now.
Again, Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White are never going to criticize each other in public. They're going to act like they're cool. They're going to act like they're friends. But you got to look for the other stuff, the interactions, things on the side of the court, how they interact with each other, all this other stuff.
Step away from the highlight for a second, because that shot is honestly the least interesting part of what went down. What that final possession really exposed is a question this team still has not answered yet. Is this offense actually built around its best shooter, or is she just one piece inside someone else's system? When the game is on the line and the ball ends up in the hands of the backup option, that's not a small detail, that's a full philosophy. And it took a 30-year-old veteran going off script to get the ball where most people in the building already thought it should go. Then there's a part nobody on the broadcast is going to say out loud. The coach stood at the podium and said all the right things. Generational talent. Glad we have her. She's still finding her rhythm again. Warm, supportive, exactly the kind of script you'd expect. But put those words next to that sideline frame, the smile that disappears the second Clark turns toward the bench, and a big part of this fan base starts to feel the public and private versions don't line up. I'm not saying these two are at war. They are never going to criticize each other on camera, and honestly, they shouldn't. But what I am saying is that the real tells live in those in-between moments, the eye contact she gives others, but not her coach. You watch that sequence and you make your own judgment, because there is a bigger argument underneath all of this, and it's the one that actually decides games. A lot of people are now arguing that a shooter like this should be the true engine of the offense, that you build late-game sets around her the way great teams build around their best creator, instead of using her as a decoy and hoping someone else saves it. Last night became a live example of what happens when that system breaks down, and a veteran has to step in and fix it to win. This team is sitting at 6-11. They came dangerously close to losing a game they had no real business losing. And the only reason this morning feels like a celebration instead of a collapse is because Clark hit a shot most players on Earth wouldn't even attempt, and she bailed the whole situation out, while the coach ends up in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. That needs to be said clearly. So this is what I'm watching next, and you should be watching it too. The next time this team is in a one-possession game with the clock running down, who does the play actually go to? If the answer is finally the obvious one, then maybe last night becomes a turning point. If someone has to go off script again just to get her the ball, then nothing has really changed, and that quiet gap on the sideline is only going to grow. Tell me where you stand. Is this a coach and a star who simply do not fit together? Or are people overreacting to a single frame from a celebration? You cannot sit in the middle on this one. Pick a side and drop it in the comments.